It was a Thursday, the kind of drive through the mountains Thursday where everything smells like pine and Waffle House. We were headed south, back to Florida from Tennessee, when we passed a hand-painted billboard that read, "Welcome to Alpine Helen, Georgia's Bavarian village." And I thought, wait, what? You're telling me there's a Bavarian village with bratwurst, gable roofs, and oompa bands just tucked into the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia? Naturally, we stopped. We had 2 hours, that's it. And I'm here to tell you, it was completely worth it. But also, it was completely bizarre. This is the story of Helen, Georgia, the town that reinvented itself with lederhosen and never looked back. Let's rewind. Helen wasn't always a fairy tale postcard. For most of its history, it was a workhorse, a sawmill town, built hard and fast in the early 1900s to log the Chattahoochee Valley, right after the railroad came through. Think muddy boots, timber booms, and a river full of floating logs. By the 1950s, the timber was gone, the trains had slowed, and Helen had collapsed into economic limbo. One of those forgotten Appalachian towns with more boarded-up windows than open ones. Enter John Collick, Georgia artist, mountain local. In 1968, over a cup of coffee with a few business owners, he pitched a crazy idea. What if we turned Helen into a Bavarian alpine village? You know, the kind you would find in Germany, he said. Not theme park, not parody, but a full aesthetic rebrand. They zoned it, designed it, codified it, and almost overnight, Helen was alpine. No joke, even the Huddle House has gables and gingerbread trim, and that's what we walked into 55 years later when we rolled down Main Street on a Thursday afternoon. Let's talk about the visuals, because Helen is one of those places that seems built for B-roll. You point your camera in any direction and you've got a postcard. We're talking balcony flower boxes overflowing with red geraniums, hand-painted signage and Frankter font, beer gardens shaded by candy-striped umbrellas, faux clock towers, a taffy shop blasting German folk music with zero irony. And here's the thing, it works, because Helen doesn't halfway anything. The zoning code requires every building in the historic core to look like it belongs in Bavaria. Not inspired by, not a nod to, it must be alpine. No exceptions. We walked past numerous fast food restaurants built to look like an inn in the Black Forest. But it's not just visual, it's the commitment. Helen leans hard into the illusion, right down to street names like Edelweiss. They've blurred the line between kitsch and cohesion so thoroughly that honestly, you start to buy into it. It's charming, it's a little surreal, and it's completely aware of itself. Now, if you're the kind of traveler who likes to measure the soul of a place by its storefronts, Helen's got a very clear message for you. This town exists to entertain you, and it's not apologizing for it. We ducked into a shop selling handmade German nutcrackers and cuckoo clocks, right next to a place selling funnel cakes and airbrush t-shirts. We watched people pose next to fiberglass beer steins taller than most of the tourists. And while you might expect to be cynical about it, there's something undeniably joyful about how committed Helen is to the bit. It's not just tourist bait, it's theatrical civic pride. We talked to one shopkeeper originally from Pittsburgh who told us people think it's fake, but the jobs here are real. The tourism keeps this valley alive, and she's right. Helen only has about 500 full-time residents, but it draws over 2 million visitors a year. That's not a gimmick. That's an economy. So what can you actually do in 2 hours? Honestly, a lot. You can stroll the entire downtown core, grab a coffee or, as we did, a pretzel, browse antique and souvenir shops, watch tubers drift down the Chattahoochee, and of course snap more photos than you'll ever post. You won't have time to visit nearby Anna Ruby Falls or hike Raven Cliff, and you won't catch the full impact of Oktoberfest, but as a snapshot, Helen delivers. It's a drive-by town in the best way, the kind of place you stop for lunch, but you leave with a story. And that's what struck me the most. For all of its architecture, its atmosphere, its curated tourism, Helen works because it's consistent. It decided what it wanted to be and became it, unapologetically. Now, I've been to places that tried to reinvent themselves and fell flat. I've seen main streets rethemed with zero buy-in. I've seen tourist towns sell out their character to chase profit. Helen didn't do that. It picked a theme and built it into law. It brought the community along with it. It didn't try to be everything to everyone. It chose one thing, an alpine mountain escape, and it did it well enough that we're still talking about it half a century later. But here's what makes it more than just a novelty. Helen isn't just charming, it's strategic. Because what this town figured out in 1969, before theme restaurants, before Instagrammable pop-ups, before the modern tourism economy, was something really simple. Americans crave escape. Not just vacations, not just weekends away. We crave whimsy with a roadmap. We want curated places that don't remind us of anywhere else. Places that interrupt the sameness of life with something unexpected. And Helen delivers that, not with rides or roller coasters, but with gabled rooftops, flower boxes, and just enough accordion music to convince you for a second that you've slipped into a storybook, even if it's all stagecraft. And that's what's brilliant about it, because in an era when small towns are fading and main streets are hollowing out, Helen stands as proof that reinvention doesn't have to mean erasure. It can mean vision. It can mean resilience. It can mean saying, let's build something so specific, so stylized, and so consistent that people will drive hours just to believe in it. And they do. Millions of them. So if you're passing through, even for a couple of hours, stop. Not just for the strudel, not just for the photo op, but to see a small town that made a bet on whimsy and won. 2 hours in Helen might not change your life, but it might change how you see the American South. Because sometimes the strangest little places are the ones that get it the most right. This has been ChadGallivanter. Thanks for riding with us through Helen, Georgia, where the bratwurst is hot, the architecture is alpine, and the South gets just a little bit stranger in the best possible way. Be good to yourself. See you next town.